So we're going to start drawing our first portrait. Now, this is quite a large sheet of paper. You do want to use half or more of your piece of paper. You don't want your teeny tiny head to only fill up this much of the paper. So again, try to make it a half or larger when you are drawing your portrait. As always, we want to start by starting with our circle or our oval, depending on our face shape. And I think I'm going to move mine up just a little bit. I do like to draw quite large. I am going to be looking straight forward, so I can start dividing my face, my eye line, which I did 2 lines, my nose, my mouth, and I can even start figuring out my hairline. So now that I kind of have that placed, I can start going in and adding some of those facial features. We always start with that 5 eye to give you an idea of where everything is going to go to fit on that face. And then you can actually start adding in. Starting with those 3 circles, I'm going to go in with everything nice and light to make sure that I have everything where it needs to be before I actually start moving on to something else. Going from the eyes down to the nose, starting with that circle where the ball is, figuring out where those nostrils are going to be and how close they are, and finding that shape of the nose. Really looking at your face and trying to figure out where those facial features go by using the lines and looking at your face in the mirror. Now really looking at the space in between the nose and the mouth. I will see that I might have to move my line down just a little bit to keep with that space. Following the shape, changing it as needed, looking at where my lines on my face go. Once I have my features, I can really start to define that hairline. Not only the hairline, but the shape of the face. Constantly looking at my face as I draw, always trying to draw what I see, not what I think I see. I can see where my hair crosses over, comes down, tucks behind the ear. And the other hair comes back down, again coming from behind. I can start to see not only where my neck will go, but even the collar of the shirt. Where that hair starts coming down and filling in that whole area. Do the same thing on the other side. Really looking to where that hair starts falling or creating. So now that I can even put in my forehead line. So now that I already have my outline, I've looked at my face, I'm watching my face, and I'm defining. I can now go back in and start cleaning up some of these areas and really making it look like me by adding value. Now, if you need to, my pencil's out of it, so I actually brought an eraser. I can go in before I start adding my value and erasing all of my lines that I had to help me find my face. Now, I will keep the ball at the bottom of my nose because I'm going to need that. I can get rid of some of the eyeball, the sketchiness around the actual face. And look at how this is already starting to clean up all of those nice little sketchy areas that you were doing. Change as I'm working. Now notice I'm pressing a little bit harder, but I'm not pressing as hard as I could. So I do want to make sure that when I go back in, I can start adding some of that detail and some of that value. So I'm going to start with my eyebrows. They kind of come up, start going over this way. Now you can even, if you have darker eyebrows, take your pencil and add a little value there. So not only texture, but the darkness that goes with those eyebrows. Constantly changing the direction so that they look like actual hair or where they would go. And you want to look at your eyebrows for this. Now I can come back down to my eyes and really look at my eyes to define that shape. Looking not only to see where I can see that bottom eyelid showing, but how much of my eye I can actually see, how large my pupil is, where that pupil sits inside of that eye, depending on where I'm looking. How much of the pink is showing or not showing. And again, where those eyelashes come from and where they end. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye. Defining, continuously looking at your eye to make sure it does look like your eye. Seeing how big that iris is compared to the pupil, where that is. And giving a little value. Adding in those eyelashes and checking on that eyebrow crease. Now I'm going to refrain from adding more value to the eyes until I get further along with all my other facial features. So now not only finding the shape of my nose, but adding the value to where my nostrils would go. And then again, checking that space around the nostrils to see not only if they line up or look like my nose. And I'm just going to start marking where the darker areas are. And then again, I can come down and check the area between my nose and my mouth to make sure that this does look like my mouth. Now that I feel like I'm pretty good to where I need, I can go back in and start adding those values. Now I'm using the side of my pencil because it allows me to have a smoother, lighter way to add that color into my art instead of going in with some really harsh lines that are going to be a little bit harder to get rid of. Now, I do have a light set up to the side of me. One, it helps with the videos, but it also does help me see that value. So you want to make sure that you have good lighting before you get started. And all I'm doing is squinting and looking at myself in the mirror and trying to find those areas where we're really seeing those darker spots. So where you have more shadow on your face. Look at the areas that they're creating. Which of those areas are darker? You want to keep building as you go. Now, just like you would do this with the face and the skin, you're also going to have to do this for the hair. So I can already start to go in. My hair I know is darker at my roots and my face. So I can already go in and start picking out those areas that are the darkest and adding some value. Again, you want to think about when it comes to your hair, not only where are those highlights, where is the shine, but also what is the texture of your hair. Mine is really light on the top, but kind of dark underneath. So adding these lines gives me the hair texture, but also doesn't take away from the darkness at the root that I'm building up. You can even have little hairs like you would naturally. So showing where those hairs would come out in the direction that they would go. So mine all come up and go over. So not only did I find the direction of that hair, but then I'm continuing to draw the line in that direction also to really mimic what that hair would look like. And then I can go back in and I can make my root darker like it would be in real life. And the same thing goes on the other side. Now I look forward to see what you guys do. I'm gonna keep working on my art. Thank you guys.